Welcome to Wednesdays with Willa. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. It also airs out on the Lilydale Facebook page and is uploaded later to my YouTube channel. And it's a wonderful opportunity weekly for me to have a special guest on the show, and we cover a spiritual topic relating to either spiritualism, mediumship, faith, family, or more. And this is actually year 7 of Wednesdays with Willa. So I have had so many great guests throughout the years. I encourage you to look back at the archive videos of the show on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium, as well as my YouTube channel. You can type in the guest's name or a topic, and you'll be able to watch those again and enjoy them. And I will say this, that we're getting ready for a great summer season here in Lilydale. It's a 10-week summer season of program of events happen daily and also weekly. We have wonderful workshop presenters that come in through the summertime. So you can sign up for those individually on the lilydaleassembly.org website. That registration is open. And as I said, it's 10 weeks of mediumship message services and healing services and lectures and so much more. So I encourage you to check that out and know that during the off season, you can still visit, but it's much more quiet. People are fixing up their houses and just living in this beautiful community that's located in Western New York State. So I wanted to also mention that if you're tuning in for the first time live, that I really appreciate you being part of this experience. And if you watch on the replay, that's okay too. I get lots of great comments about the shows. People find them very educational as they're wanting to pursue their own spiritual development. So without further ado, we're going to get into our topic today. I want to introduce our wonderful guest for the day, who is Wendy Corsi Staub.
Hi, and Chance the cat, who miraculously showed up. She's in all the books.
Yes, she's in the books.
Down my office door and wanted to come in and be on camera.
Fantastic. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Willa. We're very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And for those of you who don't know who Wendy is, she is a best-selling author, and she has developed wonderful series that are set in a fictionalized version of Lily. I just want to make sure that I mention that. And they are mysteries. You have a young adult series, and then you have an adult series, and it's wonderful that you've been able to evolve, and you so lovingly talk about Lilydale. I mean, we don't have these kind of murders happening.
No, thank goodness.
that is very fictionalized.
Oh, fictionalized.
But I notice when I read parts of it that are related to Lilydale and to spiritualism, it's always lovingly.
Absolutely.
Shared and never kind of rude or anything like that. So it's very respectful, and I know we appreciate that here in Lilydale, of course.
That's good.
Thank you. And you're coming this summer because I want to make sure people know this. You're coming this summer, especially July 13th.
July 13th, yeah.
Yes, you'll be here in Lilydale as a workshop presenter, and you'll be here to talk about your book series with one of the registered mediums, Lauren Thibodeau. And you'll be able to talk about your latest Lilydale book. And so there's a lot in the works in terms of those Lilydale books. And I know you'll be sharing about those. So if people are interested in getting tickets, you can even get a VIP ticket, which means you're like up close and personal, as it were, compared to the rest. Now you can purchase those tickets on the lilydaleassembly.org website. If you go to what's happening, you can find the different highlighted events and workshop events, and put Wendy's name in there, and you'll be able to get your ticket. It's best to do that in advance so that you can make sure you're here. Also, if you're coming and you're wanting to stay at one of the guest houses or hotel, please book that now, because it is pretty much booked up in the hotel, is what I've heard, and a lot of the guest homes, the private guest homes as well. So you want to make sure that you're making those plans. So, Wendy, I know that with your special Lilydale series, you have quite a following with those books, and you've written other books as well, and even under, pen names, shall we
Yes,
say?
yes, yes.
So, it's spanned 30 years now of you and your writing career, correct?
It has been. It's been my writing career is about 30 years. I wrote my first book about Lilydale about 5 years in, maybe. And it had such a response. It was called In the Blink of an Eye. It was a standalone adult mystery. And then I kind of felt like a lot of my young adult readers had crossed over to read, not crossed over, but crossed over to read that. And I thought this would be a great young adult series. So that was what I ended up doing. It's completely unrelated to In the Blink of an Eye, but I had a young adult series that started with the book Awakening, and there were 4 titles in that. And then now I have a spinoff, and it's adult mysteries. And they start with 9 lives. And I just signed for 2 more. So the next one will be out the week that I'm in Lilydale. That's the debut for the book 2. So it's called Dog Days. There's always a cat, and Chance sort of triggered the whole adult series, but Chance is my cat that's walking around me like meowing right now. But so there's a cat in every book. I do cat rescue, and there's a real life kitty in every book, but there are some dogs in the next one. So I like dogs too. So it's called Dog Days. And then there's one more coming after that so far.
Very cool. Very cool. And, in terms of developing this idea of centering it in Lilydale, how did you make that decision?
I grew up in Dunkirk, which is right out near Lilydale. And I was always fascinated by it. I just, it spoke to my imagination as a writer. And as a teenage girl, my friends and I used to go see the mediums and try to find out, who we were going to marry someday. And so anyway, it was always fascinating for me. And of course, when I became a writer, I thought this is just a perfect place to set a mystery. I write suspense, mystery, suspense, and it was perfect for that. And the young adult series was mysterious, and it was also paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So in that one, it was much more paranormal. Ghost. I know
Ghosty, which is
spirit. Yeah,
right. That's not usually what we do here in Lilydale. Like,
yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we really aren't about the spook and boo. It's a real gentle connection that we make with people's loved ones.
Yes. Yeah, and who doesn't? And that's what I always felt, that I hadn't really lost anyone when I started writing about it, anyone really close to me. But once my grandpa passed away, my first grandparent that I lost, that was when I it was 1998, and that was when I kind of felt like I need to see him again. I need to have that contact. And then after that, it was, my mother-in-law, my mother, like my grandma. I always felt like they're still around us. Mm-hmm. I just love the idea that some people are able to connect us to them, or that we are able, apparently. I don't know, but
we all have some level or form of intuition, and for some, they have a more natural proclivity for that. Just like with anybody who's good at something else, they're some people are excellent at baseball. Other people, there's no way they should ever pick up a bat.
Right. I'm one of those people.
But some people just have that natural proclivity. And I'm fortunate enough that in my family, I have mediums, and it came very naturally, and it was never forced, but it was fostered. And I know in the young adult teenager series, shall I say, she's developing her gifts. You're exploring how she's doing that and opening to spirit.
Yes.
Ghost is a ticket selling word.
Right, exactly. And I know better than to use that word.
Yeah. But I think it's really cool, because people, a lot of things happen when you're a child, and as a teenager, you might be opening to the experiences of spirit and starting to feel their presence, or maybe hear some words, or start that connection. And in that series, you do explore that.
Absolutely. And I had read somewhere a long time ago, when my kids were little, that children don't know about what they shouldn't be seeing, or what they shouldn't, like, they are still more open. Mm-hmm. And I've witnessed with my own kids and with children that are close to me, just, them sort of knowing things or saying things that they really couldn't or shouldn't know. And so I always kind of thought we unlearn some of that maybe, or we're not supposed to, right? And it may be about being open or closed off, but I do explore that in the
Exactly.
books.
And something people can really connect and relate to, because so many mediums that come to me later on and become mediumship students, they'll say, this wasn't necessarily fostered in my family. This was shut down. I was told, hush, don't, you
Right.
can't be seeing that. Certainly don't talk about it.
Right.
And so some people are actually very afraid of what they're first experiencing because of how it's portrayed in movies and sometimes books, but they're scared of that. And I think that once they're in Lilydale, they start to see that that they can start to understand their gifts more, have control, have healthy boundaries, so that it's not about being overwhelmed or being scared.
Right.
And I think your books make that accessible for people.
Yeah, I've really tried to do that, especially with the adult series. It's not necessarily paranormal. I have a woman who comes in and she's a skeptic and a scientist, and she's my main character. And then, and there's always a murder mystery. Well, not necessarily a murder, but there's always a mystery. So she's kind of, so I've made the mediums in the book so much more eccentric than you are, Willa. But they were fun characters to develop, and some of them are from the first book. But I really love the eccentricities versus, like, she's trying to be really pragmatic, but she's a widow, and she's kind of like, if people can really connect, why can't I connect? It's that searching. And I think that people experience that universally when you have a loss. It's like, why can't I sort of be open to that? Why can't I, once you've lost people who are close to you, I think that's what happens.
And you can get very frustrated. And sometimes it is that more logical person that's trying to make sense of it, or doesn't want to give credence to it, that have the most difficulty. Absolutely. Because they're not really ready to be open to the experience.
Right.
There's a difference between being a skeptic and a healthy skeptic, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And your character, Bella, I feel for her, because so many clients are very much in that same boat of someone that they've loved so deeply, and it's good to know that we can connect with people even after they've passed, and that love never dies. And I think people are on that journey. And the other thing is, they expect a little bit more. Like, if you love me, you would make yourself known to me in
the way that I expect you to, right?
Right. So there's a demand of it. And if they can't get what they want, then a denial of it, right?
Absolutely. If it's not, my father always said, like, if they don't come through with their name, then how do I know? And I'm like, anybody can share a name. It's the details. But then, that happened once with him. Like, the name came through of his dad, and he was like, all right, I guess because I felt like, I think you kind of hit him over the head with that. Like, he had to have his name. But my father was kind of like, seeing is believing, or hearing is believing. But I was like, there's so much more than that was happening.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point, because it's not always about the names. It's about bringing through the essence of that individual in the spirit. And so they're giving different forms of evidence and personality, physical appearance, how they pass, memories that they have about life, people here on the earth plane that they may want to talk about. Situation. So it revolves as a conversation with spirit. And I know in your book, she's on a journey and just like in the other Lilydale series, you progress them through some of their experience and gifts. And so I think it's good that there's this arc that starts to happen.
Definitely. And I wasn't sure when it was going to end, the first one or the second one. So I brought back the characters from the first, and they're still on their journey in the, like, they're kind of, it spins off.
Yes.
And Calla, my heroine from the first, is still, searching, but now she's a medium herself. Right. And you see the acceptance in her story. But I love the character growth, and also just Bella sort of understanding. Like, all of the things that it isn't, I guess, is what is important. You know, it's not woo woo and like, ghost rattling chains. And I think that was really fun to play with. And it's a theme through all of the books.
Of course, kind of tongue in cheek, poking fun at that kind of understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the way, like, because I have these really eccentric characters, they're so fun to play off of her sort of, she's really logical and I just have them really out there and they talk to people who aren't there and all of that. I love the idea of that. And it's really exaggerated.
Sure.
But I'm not a medium, and people ask me that. Like,
sure, you must get that asked that number one.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't, know a lot about your end of it, but I have worked with so many mediums there, and I've done a lot of research to try to get it right. So
yes,
I hope.
Yes, and in your own search of this, you sometimes find recognition that your own loved ones are around you too. And you were sharing a story with me before we started. Go ahead and tell them.
I'm going to pull my phone out because I have something on here. Yes.
Yes.
Do you want me to share the story?
Absolutely. Share the story. I think it's
I will. So my mom passed away young in 2005, and we were so close. And actually, she was helping me research the first Lilydale books in Lilydale. We would go and it was unsaid. I mean, I felt like she and I both knew that she was nearing the end of her life and that she would try to come through to me. And I feel like I'm a mother. I get that. If I could possibly let my children know that I'm around them or be there when they need me, I would. And my mother was that force of nature. And so backing up a little bit, when my oldest son was born in 1995, she came to the hospital with a little hibiscus plant in a little pot. And I have kept that plant alive to this day. It's now more or less a tree. It's in my living room, and I move it outside in the summer, and I sometimes forget to water it. I neglect it sometimes. And it looks like all the leaves are off and it's dying. And then all of a sudden it'll get a beautiful big red hibiscus flower. And whenever it happens, it's usually a few months in between or sometimes longer. And it's always a day when I needed my mother for some reason, or it's her wedding anniversary with my dad, or there's always a reason. So, it hasn't bloomed in a few weeks. The day it bloomed a few weeks ago, my son got his dream job, he found out. So today is my mother's birthday, and I just happened to go over to do something in that corner, and I saw, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's the hibiscus. It's blooming for her birthday. She bloomed it. So I feel like, call me whatever you want, believe it or not. I just feel like I know my mother, and we all do. I send it on our family group text. Like, that's my mom saying, I'm here. I'm here. You know where to look for me. I'm with you. So
it was one of those things where the synchronicities are so strong. You can't just say that's coincidence.
Oh, no. And it doesn't always, like, if I'm having a bad day, I look over there, I'm like, where is she? There's no flower. It doesn't always happen, but when it happens, it is always for a reason that, and sometimes I don't know what it is until afterward. So that's true. I just wanted to share that because it's to me comforting. I feel like sometimes we just need to know someone can hear us or is with us, someone we love. They're not gone. She's not gone. And that's what that symbolizes to me.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you share that story because other people, you can put it in the comments if you'd like. The people who are viewing this, you've probably had experiences yourself, just like what Wendy's experience, where that your spirit loved one did that, especially for you, because they still love you, they still care. They think about it. When it's your turn to pass, you're going to go check in on your people.
Oh my God, my kids will be like, go away. Get out of here. So you get it, right? I would.
And speaking of family and friends, and do you sometimes weave some of those components in as well?
I do. The funny thing is, okay, so the cats there's always a cat from my family. And the books, can I back up a little bit and talk about why 9 Lives? 9 Lives is the first adult Lilydale series, and Chance is in there somewhere, but I can't see without my glasses. Anyway, this was going way back to, I think it was 2014. We'd had a horrible day. My family and I, we all were in a different bad place. And my boys were home from school. One was, the oldest was home. And we all went out to dinner that night randomly. And I had had a lunch that day with my editor and with my agent and a new editor who said, I'd love to see a new series from you. You know, not suspense, but something different. And I was kind of like, I have nothing in my tank. Like I'm overextended as it is. I have no ideas, no thoughts. He's like, well, give it some thought. Come home from the lunch. My family, we go out to dinner together, the four of us, unusual. Pull into the driveway, all four of us in the car, and there's a cat sitting on our doorstep. My husband's allergic. We now know my sons are as well. But she was just sitting there like she lived here. And when we walked up, she was so friendly. She was hugely pregnant. And it was obvious because my boys kept saying they named her Chance the cat instead of Chance the Rapper. My son's like, he looks like Chance the Rapper. I don't know why. We end up with this cat staying around. The next day she was still there. I'm trying to find her owners on Facebook because she's so friendly. And I'm like, we can't bring her in. We're allergic. I ended up calling a rescue person. When she came, she said, I can rescue her and we'll find homes for her kittens. She takes her away. My husband said as they were leaving, like, wait, what happens to her? And he's like, well, she said, it's really hard to adopt out the mom. Everybody wants the kittens. Nobody really wants a mom. And my husband said, we'll take the mom. I was like in tears because I had a cat growing up. I love cats. So anyway, flash forward, she has the babies because we were going to be gone for a few weeks. There was nobody here to watch them. So had the babies. Someone stepped up to foster, a friend of mine. And she had 6 kittens. And in the middle of the night, she was in dire shape. She was dying. And my friend called me and we carried the cat and the box of 6 kittens to an emergency vet. It was, of course, on a Saturday late night weekend. So when I got her in there, they were like, who's responsible? And I said, I am. And then they said she needed major medical intervention to the tune of a whole lot of money. So I was like, and my sons and my husband, like, just do whatever you have to do to save her and the kittens because they were newborns and they all would have died. So anyway, I left her there. I was like, I put it on my credit card. You should have gone to a wealthy person's doorstep, but you came to our house, so I'm going to save you. And the next morning I called the emergency place at like 4. We didn't sleep that night. And they said, she's magical. Like there's something about this cat. She's unbelievable. She's really special, and her kittens. And she pulled through the night. So I swim laps every morning. I'm underwater swimming and I kept thinking about it. And I was like, maybe I'm supposed to write about, like, why did she come to us? And I need to earn the money now to pay for this huge vet bill, emergency vet. And I just thought the story came to me just like that. I was like, and then I started doing research into it. I thought this is a Lilydale book. And that book opens with a cat that is where it's not supposed to be. And I've since found out that cats rescue you don't rescue them. And so anyway, that's how that series was born. And I just felt like I need to write about her and this because it was also kismet-y, just that it was that day. And stray cats don't come around my doorstep usually. Now they do. Now I have. I feed them all outside. But we have another guy. Like we started doing rescue and fostering. And it just really was, to me, it just opened this chapter with these books.
Well, I found that over the years that when you open your heart to a cat, a dog, a pet like that, and there's this renaissance of the heart that happens in those moments. It's almost inexplicable, and it's only with certain ones that you get the special relationship with.
Yes,
that you just. It's different from any other relationship you have. You feel the unconditional love, and you can feel that intuitively linking with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, really
and
fast.
My mom always said that about people too, because my mom, she just believed that whenever someone's in your path, even if it's the worst day and you don't have time for them and it's not who you need in your day, she's like, they're there for a reason and you need to be there for them because there's something you're going to learn from that, or they need you for whatever reason. And I've always tried to remember that, like, just something in your path It's just a way of living and making sense of things that sometimes don't feel right in the moment.
Yes, very, very true. And it gives you a sense that you are being carried by the divine. That
It does.
you
It
know
does.
that you're just not walking this path alone, and that you're very supported by a whole support team, if you will.
Yeah. I love that idea. And I love thinking that we get what we need. It's not always what we want, but it might be, and it won't be clear necessarily. But I like that idea because it makes sense of disorder. Life is just so chaotic. And
Mhm.
I'm a person who likes to control. And
So
sometimes you just
in
can't.
controlling your book and in shaping your book,
Oh, yeah.
your books, I should say, plural. But when you're writing, do you find that snippets come and then you're putting it together, or is it almost like a free flow? How does that work for you?
It's strange. The beginnings are always hard, the early part of a book, even if I always know where I'm going generally in the end, but beginnings are so hard. And then it starts to flow. And sometimes I find that elements are there that I didn't realize were there and needed to be. It's almost like my subconscious is piecing it together. And my husband will say, like, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm stuck in a book if I'm stuck in a hard place. But I think my mind just sort of works that out, not in a mystical way. It's
Mhm.
just a muscle that I've been working for so many years. It's what I
Yes.
do. It's about story and theme, and I'm trained to do
Mhm.
that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's pretty organic in the end.
So are
Yeah.
you writing these things down in like little books, or you're typing it out on your little
I
computer?
used to. Now I no, I keep a lot up here, and up here is really crowded the older I get. So I'm like, I need a better system. But as I'm writing a book, the end of the book always has notes, and they're highlighted in different color of text so that I
Mhm.
know, where I was going with this, what I meant to do with that. Just little ideas like put this in. I just have my own little system, not to lose track of those
Not
things.
to lose track of it,
Yeah.
yeah, and having to stay organized and say, well, I need to make sure that the storyline makes sense with the rest
Yeah.
of the books in the series too.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of times I'll get to the end, I'm like, "Wait, now this doesn't work because I did that way back there." So I have to it takes a high level of organization that I don't always feel when I'm being an artist, I guess, is the artiste.
Yes.
You're just creating. You
Yeah.
don't wanna be bothered with pesky details, so you have to, in the end, put on your other hat and be sure that everything is motivated and pulls together.
And knowing that you have family still that you connect with close to Lilydale, how often would you say you've been to Lilydale through the years?
Oh gosh, I've been there a lot. I was just up there. When were we there? At Christmas time, I guess. My son's girlfriend had never been, and I gave her a reading. Like I didn't do the reading. I paid for the reading. I wanted her to have that. So I was just there. I would say, once a year or whatever, twice a year. I'll sometimes come up and just drive around because I need the visual. But I've really fictionalized so much of it. That
Yeah.
there's no giant Valley View guest house and a lot of the details are not real, but some of them are. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, I've got to see where the auditorium is in proximity to this, or some things are moved. Like, I have Cottage Row where it shouldn't be in
Right.
some sense, but I do love that some of the places that are real, if I just go and absorb, I feel like I'm right back in my book. It's great.
That's what I was feeling when I was meditating about this. I was like, I think that's what she does. I think you go there, and all of a sudden, not that it's a spirit world, but it's your
Yeah.
writer's world
Right. The fictional world.
that you can almost on a holographic level
Yeah.
sense your
Oh,
characters walking here and there, doing this and relating in those particular ways. So it's like a
oh
parallel
yeah.
universe of Lilydale.
And some of it, because I can't be there, I'll actually look up like which fish would be in the lake at this time of year, or a bird, or what might something smell like, or those kinds of things to make it real, because the books are all seasonal.
Yes.
It started in it's spring, summer, winter, fall, not in that order. uh Not in that order. I just did it out of order anyway. But they're all seasonal books, so they sort of progress every 3 months. And
Right.
I like it to be real. And my favorite one to write was the winter one,
Mm.
because it's so desolate in Western New York at times in the winter, and the snow people just don't understand 7 feet of snow out of nowhere that wasn't supposed to be coming this morning. So then I grew up there, so I know, so I love getting the natural world into these books as well, and just
Beautiful.
the setting is important to me.
Yeah, because Lilydale is nestled on this beautiful, Cassadaga Lake,
Beautiful.
and then you have the woods that are there too. So there's very much a nature space that's around a person, and yet we have this quaint little village.
Yeah,
Of
the houses. I love Victorian. I grew up in a Victorian, just sort of the little, with the gables and the gingerbread and I love. It's just really special place.
It sure is, and that's why it is on the historic registry, and people are still trying to support Lilydale in those efforts and really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I know in your books, like I said earlier, you just lovingly talk about Lilydale, and you sprinkle in pieces of the history and about spiritualism.
I love it. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh look.
That's it.
We're talking about right here.
And because growing up, I heard all that lore. Growing up, I grew up in Western New York, so I knew about all of that. I grew up Catholic, and my grandma was the biggest sort of, she was like, oh, it's really, we're not supposed to believe in this, but did you hear from my mom, like if I would go? But my grandma, she was Sicilian, but it turns out like a lot of people on that side of the family have this sort of gift, and my gram did herself. She didn't like to talk about it, but
at one point 50% of my clients were Catholic.
Oh yeah.
And I was doing readings for priests and nuns, and they would tell me that this is absolutely allowed. Even the Pope had decided.
It is. I spoke to the priest about it finally when I was there. He just absolutely.
So people
have a fallacy
about what that
is done there.
Because talking to saints and angels and Mother Mary, and like that's all very much allowed. And I mean, people like candles and connection with their loved ones.
Right.
So isn't it funny?
And spirituality. And I feel so much better. I mean, I'm not really a practicing Catholic anymore, but I feel like my grandma would have been okay with that. And she was in the end. But back then it was just sort of nobody knew what went on up there. And it was kind of mystical and scary, but she'd always be fascinated by it. And I found out later that's why, that goes very deep in her little branch of the family.
Oh,
intuition and sort of, yeah.
And I mean, who wouldn't want to have some radar so you're not running around blind?
Yeah, exactly. Oh God. And that's the part. I love that piece of it too, because not only do we all want to connect with our loved ones, we would all love to know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? And it's not a perfect science. It's not what happened. I thought it was that.
If we are given those kind of premonitions, it's so that we could be stronger in the moment when it comes, so that maybe we're not in shock with the rest of everybody. But I think even in your books, there's that reflection of, listen to those intuitions. Like if you're like, this person's a little off. Like, there's a reason for that. You may not know that reason at that time.
Oh, yeah.
But pay attention.
Pay attention. And it's just sort of like, I think I used it in the books I've used it many times. Maternal, like people will say mother's intuition or maternal instinct is real. It's real in nature with animals. It's real, and with people. And as a mom, like I have so many times sort of had this gut instinct to reach out to one of my sons, and so I think we're linked in that way, and you have to listen and allow yourself to think, okay, I'm just going to go with this because it's so strong.
Yes, it is so strong. And I think it's nice that people have a place like Lilydale, that's the world's largest center for the religion of spiritualism, which is actually like written in your book.
On the sign.
Yeah, on the sign.
In your book, yes. The sign, yes.
And that as soon as people see that sign or, come to Longdale Drive and enter the gates, they feel peace.
Oh, it's a really peaceful place.
They feel the peace of that place, and it's almost inexplicable.
Yeah.
How that transcends all of that. Now, I know you have some other things in the works in terms of your Lilydale series. Is there anything you could tell us?
Well, we did. We sold the young adult series to NBC. So, of course, there was a strike for a long time.
Whoops.
Everything got put on hold, force majeure. So I haven't had an update lately, but you guys will be the first to know. But I'm hopeful for that. That series has always had interest on that level. The Lilydale stuff is really, I don't know. It just speaks to a lot of people. It has a big audience, and I write these books for the readers. I feel like there was a time I was overextended. Even last year, I was kind of like, oh, doing 2 more Lilydale books. I don't know, but I feel like it's a labor of love for me, and I feel like we'll see. Maybe something bigger will happen with this. So I will keep you all posted. We did sell them, and it was on. The day that I found that out, I think was Mother's Day, or the day my mother had died. It was the anniversary. It was May. So yeah, it just all felt organic because she was dying when I was writing the first book, and I had to leave her bedside to go pitch to Hollywood people, and she was just like, go, I'll be fine. You need to do this. I feel like this is, but I've learned in this business to never count on Hollywood. Never, never. Just keep doing the work.
Yeah, just keep doing the work, and but it is kind of exciting, the thought that you sold that and that they are going to develop that, and hopefully they'll stay
true to the real Dale, which I would. And so one of the producers is Tish Cyrus. She's Miley's mom. I love her. She gets the books and she gets the place. She's really interested in all of this, like from a place from here. Mm-hmm. So I felt like she got it, and that was why I was really happy that she was the one this time around, when we optioned them the first time. Yeah, I mean she gets it, but you just never know what's going to happen. I wouldn't have control over that, but I would hope. Just so it doesn't need to be. I feel like the place itself, even in the books, like I don't need to add. It's a real place. And the people who come are always searching. I feel like it's beautiful in that way. People come there because they're looking for something. They're looking for healing, or they're looking for a lost loved one, or they're looking to know, like, for some guidance in a relationship or whatever it is. I feel like, it's rich enough in its own sort of just what Lilydale is. There's so much story there to explore.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's hundreds of years in the making, as it were.
Yeah, exactly.
And for those of you who don't understand, when we talk about readings, those are private readings that people have with mediums, and the focus is on spirit contact with those that have passed over, and it can range from half hour to hour. And then we also have message services. And so, when you see those gallery sessions on TV that celebrity mediums do, Lilydale's been doing it longer.
Stump readings, right? Out at the stump too, right?
Exactly. So the gallery reading is a public demonstration of a few minutes giving a message from spirit loved one to a person there that's in the congregation. And so, Lilydale's been doing that longer. It's kind of almost like one of New York State's best kept secrets.
It is, and now it's kind of, it's been in the New York Times, and people will see it and say, "Oh, is that the place you write about?" They're just hearing about it, or they just realized it was real.
Well, but I've had a lot of clients that from the New York City area, and they think it's just going to be like an hour away. It's like you have to cross the entire state. An hour south of Buffalo. So
it's not around the corner. I remember I was speaking about that with Tish early on when they first optioned it. She was like, "I'll fly into New York and we'll go." I'm like, "Well, yeah, maybe you should fly into Buffalo, New York, and then Buffalo, or whatever."
Exactly.
Yeah. So but people don't get the geography of it. It's sort of. But I like. It's a beautiful drive, so don't be put off by that.
Don't put off with that, but just with that expectation that you're going to have to schlep it a little bit.
A little bit. But you can see Niagara Falls while you're upstate.
That's true. Niagara Falls is so beautiful and not very far from us. An hour and some, and people do kind of coordinate that with their trips, and it's part of a delicious thing. What are some other things you wanted to share with us today about your upcoming workshop or anything like that? I know it's going to be a big deal for you to be here this summer.
I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. And I'll be signing copies of Dog Days for the first time that day. So Dog Days is the 6th Lily Dale book. And then the 7th is coming. So I'll be talking about that book. And Lauren Thibodeau and I have known each other for many, many years. And yeah, she's great. So I'm really looking forward to being on that stage with her. And we've done workshops together before. She's great. So the workshop will be wonderful, July 13th. And it's kind of my only signing in the area. The books will be there. I'll be signing them. So for this summer. So
yeah, don't miss that opportunity to be there with Wendy. And like I said, there's a VIP ticket too. So
I hope I have one.
You have a VIP ticket because you are the VIP.
I guess. Not around my house, but I will be telling everybody that as soon as I get off of this call. That's nice to know.
It's kind of funny. It's like people don't think that folks have real lives or something, but usually what it is you're like chief cook and bottle washer.
Oh God, yeah.
When you're not having to write your books.
It's not a glamorous life at all, usually, but being a VIP sounds great for a day.
You deserve a little bit.
Because writing is sitting in a chair by yourself in a room and basically typing. I mean, that's what it takes to get the work done. And I read a lot
up out of that.
Yeah.
To deal with in the sense, real world.
Yes.
Out of the fictional world and into
and for me, readers, I feel like my readers are so loyal, and I really hope people will be there this summer because there's nothing better for me than getting all that positive energy and giving back to them. I write these. I revisited the series, and I'm writing more because of the reader support. Like they just something about the series that resonates with them.
Yes. Well, as we've explored today, there are a lot of reasons when people have experienced grief or they're experiencing their own intuitive abilities that are becoming more enhanced. And I do encourage anybody who's out there that it has intuition, or you've begun in spirit contact and you're really wanting to fine tune things so that you can feel control. Books will only take you so far. And I mean, like self-help books. It's going to be best if you be of even mind and that you seek something that will help you in terms of your spiritual and mediumship development. Usually those are classes, circles, things like that is what we call them. And so I don't want you to feel like you're out there alone, just having wacky spirit contact experiences. We want to encourage people to move into a more sacred mindset and know that they can do that and feel more in control of what they're experiencing instead of being overwhelmed. There's so many empaths, right? There's so many empaths out there that, and I think that in the first series with Kala, she really is an empath.
That is what, that is her. And she doesn't even realize, she kind of comes into her own, and her grandmother's estranged from the family, and she knows nothing about Lily Dale and kind of ends up there. But yeah, absolutely. And I know people like that in my own life and in my own family who sort of, push it away and don't want that. And then, you got to embrace it. It's interesting when you said that about the workshops. I would love to share. It's just so interesting. When I was doing research for one of the books years ago, my husband and I were up there, and he insisted, it was a stormy night, and I was sitting in on a beginning mediumship class at Lily Dale, like a circle, as research. And so he wanted to sit in the car and listen to, it was March Madness, and he was going to listen to a basketball game and just sit out in the car and wait for me. For some reason, he was worried about me driving out there in the middle of nowhere, as he put it. He was like, in the middle of the night in the rain, like, not like I'm not capable. Anyway, so he was sitting in the car, and then he came in to make sure I was in the right spot. And then he was going to sit against the wall kind of because it was pouring out. They're like, have a seat. And then they're like, you really need to come into the circle.
Yeah, if you're present, you're part of it.
Yeah. So he was kind of sheepish. He's like, and so he participated only as like sort of being dragged in. And I was doing it as research, but it turned out, we read billet reading.
Billet reading. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to explain in Better.
Well, bullet reading isn't something that we normally do. I'm sure that class was done so that people can understand how fraudulent bullet
Right.
reading can be.
Absolutely.
And any times that it's been addressed in Lilydale, it's usually as this is how the people who are wanting to be frauds, they're reading the one in advance,
right?
So
right,
that they
pretending they are just getting this,
which is horrible. And so
it is.
By and large, that is what billet reading is used for.
Right.
But it can be used in a real sense too if somebody truly hasn't had access to that or is reading it personally themselves. Then you can. It will prompt the paper, the energy will prompt connection with spirit or intuitive information.
Meditate. You have to open your and my energy is just so restless. I mean, I have a hard time ever being, but that day, so everybody wrote something on a piece of paper, and then my husband, you had to hold it in your hand, somebody else's paper without, and just sort of open yourself. And my husband was amazingly accurate. It was just so, it was unbelievable, both in sort of what he put out there and what he got. And it was just so interesting because it kind of played on it just sort of spoke to, that if you open yourself and you're intuitive, or in tune, I guess, with the energy, you might be able to,
And I think it's a gentle request that people put out that is most effective rather than a demand that they get the information. And what I tell my students so often is that imagination and intuition live in the same house.
Oh, that's interesting.
The right brain, right? They live in the same house. So intuition will use imagination to convey information.
Right. And you have to know the difference, right?
You have to know the difference, but it will sometimes feel like you're pretending at first until you get used, because we always think of right brain as more imagination, right? But if you're wanting to access that intuition, it will feel like you're pretending it at first because your left brain has been running the show for so long. Right? Just like in Bella's case.
I was just going to say, or even like as a writer, I said, like sometimes I think, there's more going on than I realize.
And we do need the left brain. So in terms of mediumship and intuitive development, it helps us to find the right words to express what we're experiencing in the conversation that we're having with spirit and with the soul. And so there are absolute uses in terms of mediumship and psychic development. But I think that's why it feels like that initially. You're just, can this be real? Did I just get that right? But it's very validating when you do. There he was in a circle with strangers.
Oh yeah, and didn't want to be listening to the game. I mean, it was kind of
right, and he didn't know those people from Adam. So I think that's more validating because that he didn't have any kind of advanced information or
none.
Yeah,
and I do love that he is like a sort of. I mean, he never thought about this much before, but I love that he was really open to it. My husband's a really smart man, and he was kind of like, he just kind of embraced that idea of, it makes more sense to me, it makes more sense that people we've lost who are basically energy, that the energy didn't disappear and just go away. It makes more sense that it went somewhere. It's somewhere still. And I feel like that was validation of that. I don't know, in some weird way.
No, I think you have that right. It validates that so-called death is not the end of things, and that it's merely the physical body that dies, and we have that connection with our loved ones still, our family and friends that have passed, our pets that have passed.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And having that connection with them still because they want to come and support or just visit. And just a word, because I know a lot of people, when they think about paranormal, they think about ghosts and hauntings and things like that. But by and large, the hauntings are not really where it's at. They're just sometimes people are visiting.
Like an apparition? Like, do you mean an apparition, or like
they're just visiting, and people have the mistaken notion that they're being haunted? That's
interesting.
They're just being visited. People are stopping by, but you can also set the healthy boundaries so that they're not coming into your house or into your space. And just like you do with the people who are in the living,
Right.
you have to have the healthy boundaries. You're not just like, y'all come, whoever you are, enter my house.
Yeah.
You don't do that. And so you set the healthy boundaries of spirit.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
To think of it that way, just sort of as drop-ins, like just people. Yeah.
Right. So we don't allow that kind of behavior, right? You don't want to enable bad behavior. You have to lovingly and firmly deal with them and know that you're supported by God in your efforts to connect to the highest and the best. And that is, it kind of brings a calmness and a peacefulness to your interactions with the living and also the ones that have passed.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Comforting.
It is very, very comforting. Any last things you'd like to share with us today? I know about time for almost ready for us to close for the day.
Yeah, no, just that I appreciate all the support at Lilydale too, because I feel like anytime I've had a research question, or anytime, I want to get it right.
Yes.
And I really appreciate all the support on that end for me and my books that people have actually, the people there who live there and the mediums and sort of the powers that be have actually read them and get that I'm not exploiting in any way. I'm trying to get it right and write about this beautiful, interesting place. And also I'm from that area and it's always close to my heart. So I just get such a kick out of writing the real details in. It's really fun.
Yes.
So, yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone in Lilydale and just the local readers, like the Western New York readers. And thank you.
You're welcome. I guess I can't speak on everyone's behalf, but
sure you can.
I think it's really cool. I had picked up one of these books and the Something Buried, Something Blue one, and it says in who you're writing it. What do you say when you're saying who the book's for?
The dedication. Yeah.
And you said, for the real people of the real Lilydale is the first line of that. Yeah. And I thought that was so sweet. It's the one I picked up.
I'm so glad.
And I was like, oh, there you go. For the real people.
I'm just trying to make sure people realize that, this is a fictionalized series. The real place is full of real people, and there are not dead bodies every 10 feet like in the books. Kind of like, how do I make this happen again? Like what, how is that believable? But
right.
Really a peaceful, wonderful little place.
Exactly. And it's one of those places you can feel really safe walking around, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 5 miles an hour in here.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's all like it's very gentle and low key, but I think I've captured that in the new one. There's sort of things are disappearing from. It's Jiffy Arden, the little boy. I love writing about him and about Bella's son Max. They're little kids, but it's just there's a whole subplot involving him, and it's kind of like it really is a safe place, but something's going on. So that's a little teaser.
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been great for you to come on this show today, Wendy. I really appreciate you being here and sharing about that great love you have for Lilydale and the way you're trying to write your books. And I know you have more adventures that you'll be sharing as time goes by.
July 13th.
Great.
But thank you, Willa, and thank you everybody who tuned in. It's really nice to be here. This is the next best thing to being there in person, which I will be. So thank you.
Yes. Well, we're looking forward to having you here this summer, and people can tune in next week for another great Wednesdays with Willa show, and same time, same place. Have another wonderful show for you. And we'll be exploring, I think what next week we have, I think it's Joseph Scheel. Yes, he'll be on to talk about advancements in the future of Lilydale in terms of science and AI.
Ooh.
I know. It's like how do we tie that in together? Can mediumship and AI really exist together?
So tune into that. That sounds really interesting.
Doesn't it? It'll be great. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you.